Hello BookTube, it's Ben here from The History Fella again. Today with another book haul. In fact, it's the part 2 of the Pen and Sword book haul that I received on Saturday. I think it was about 15 books I received, so I decided to split it into 2 book haul videos, and today is the second half of those books that arrived. Other than that, or before I get on, rather, I hope you're all well, you've all enjoyed yourselves and had a good weekend, and I hope everyone's safe and well. So let's get started with the second half, or the part 2 of the Pen and Sword books. The first one today is From the Battlefield to the Big Screen. Audie Murphy, Laurence Olivier, Vivian Leigh and Dirk Bogarde in World War II. And that's written by Melody Foreman. And it's basically a look at how various big names in the film industry had to cope with serving during the World War II and then going on to become movie stars afterwards. Published by Frontline Books and priced at £22. I'll read you the first paragraph from the inlay. Look closely behind the lives of the stars who appeared in a host of legendary war films and discover how memories of their real-life experiences in the armed forces were haunted with the heartbreak and yet filled with the extraordinary heroism. Just what did America's most decorated soldier, Audie Murphy, go through in battle, which led him to star as himself in the classic war film To Hell and Back? So that sounds interesting to me, and it's kind of films is not something really I know much about, so I'd be interested to hear about the stars and how they dealt with World War II. The next one is something, actually, well, it's one of two, because I've got another different book coming up, but it's this one's called Landscapes of the Norman Conquest, written by Trevor Rowley. Published by Pen and Sword Books and priced at £25. And it's kind of one of those parts of history that I'm not overly familiar with, but it's kind of something I want to learn more about. Sort of the period of William the Conqueror and 1066 and the Norman invasion of Britain. So this book kind of looks at the towns and areas in England, how the Normans changed those areas, and how they went on to become notable towns and cities, and it just looks at the effect of the Norman Conquest and their introduction to the UK, and how they changed everything. From the back it says, argues that not only is 1066 the best known date in English history, it is also the most important. Reveals the scale of the devastation that accompanied the imposition of Norman rule after the Battle of Hastings. Explains the fundamental transformation in the shape of towns such as Canterbury, Lincoln and Norwich after 1066. And it describes the Norman colonial landscape in England, accompanied by lavish illustrations. It explores the depth of the impact of the Norman conquest on all aspects of English life. And that is, let me just move my fingers, that's Landscapes of the Norman Conquest by Trevor Rowley. And there will be a link below this video to all these books, so you can purchase them from Pen and Sword if you wish. The next one is The Fortress Kingdom. The Wars of Ethelfled and Edward the Elder, 899 to 927, written by Paul Hill. And again, this is one of those, this period of English history that I'd like to learn more about. From the back, military and political history of the conflict between the Anglo-Saxons and the Danes. Focuses on the campaigns fought by Ethelfled, Alfred the Great's eldest daughter, and Edward the Elder, Alfred's eldest son. Fascinating insight into the strategies of conquest and submission which defined the wars of early 10th century England. Reconstructs in vivid detail each campaign, major battle and siege during Edward's reign. Focuses on the role of the fortified places that were critical to the Anglo-Saxons kingdoms, and the second part of a 4-volume history of the birth of England. Oh, the second part of 2, second part of 4. Hopefully I'll be able to review a couple of other books about the stories as well. So that's The Fortress Kingdom, written by Paul Hill. That sounds good, that one. I can't wait to read that one. Right, next book is one about true crime. Killers, Kidnappers, Gangsters and Grasses. On the Front Line with the Met Police, written by Dick Kirby. Dick Kirby is a former policeman, and some of his books are really good. Very detailed, comprehensive, and because he's been in the police force, you can kind of tell he's a former policeman by how he writes and what he writes, and he seems to know the right sort of details that kind of grip you as you're reading. So all Dick Kirby's books I find quite good. In his latest thrilling book, much published crime author Dick Kirby draws on his fast-moving policing service, much of which was in Scotland Yard's Serious Crime Squad and the Flying Squad. As if that was not enough, he brings in accounts of fellow coppers during the final decades of the 20th century to add a fresh dimension. It quickly becomes clear to the reader that Kirby and his colleagues practice their art in a markedly different style than that prevails today. Corners were cut, regulations ignored, and pettifogging rules trampled on in the wider public interest of bringing criminals to justice and preserving law and order. Above all, the best senior detectives led fiercely. And you probably find quite a few people would agree with the way they used to police back in the, say, the 60s and 70s. Now, obviously, it's not PC to behave like that today, but to be honest, I think quite a few would like to see some of these, let's say, gangsters and scoundrels and thieves and all that, apprehended much better or treated the way they need to be treated but only in like a lawful manner. But anyway, right, the last 3 books, note 4, are all World War II related. A couple of them are Hitler based, because I said, quite a few of the books I've had this time are based around Hitler. The next one is Lucky, Hitler's Big Mistakes. Paul Ballard White. Adolf Hitler's Great War military experiences in no way qualified him for supreme command. Yet by July 1940, under his personal leadership, the Third Reich's armed forces had defeated Poland, Czechoslovakia, Holland, Denmark, Norway, Belgium and France. The invasion of Great Britain was a distinct reality following Dunkirk. Hungary, Bulgaria and Romania had become allies, along with the acquiescent military powers of Mussolini's Italy and Franco's Spain. These achievements prompted Field Marshal Wilhelm Keitel, the Wehrmacht's chief of staff, to pronounce Hitler to be the greatest commander of all time. Storm clouds were gathering, most notably the disastrous decision to tear up the treaty with the Soviet Union and launch Operation Barbarossa in 1941. As described in his meticulously researched and highly readable book, Hitler's blind ideology, racist hatred and single-mindedness led him and his allies inextricably to devastating defeat. How far was it good luck that gave Hitler his sensational early political and military success? Certainly fortune played a major role in his survival from many assassination attempts and sex scandals. The author concludes from 41 onwards the Führer's downfall was entirely attributable to military misjudgments that he alone made. Lucky, Hitler's big mistakes exposes the enigmatic dictator for what he really was, incredibly lucky and military incompetent. Oh, that should be good. Because Hitler is well known for making huge cock-ups during World War II, and practically most of the downfall of Germany in World War II was down to him. And some of the mistakes he made were just humongous, and yet he was lucky in that in some of his mistakes, weren't as bad as they could have been, and the amount of assassination attempts on his life is just staggering. How he wasn't killed or taken out during the war, and I think I've heard up to about 30 odd attempts on his life, and yet he managed to survive most of them. Right, the next one is a thin book. Don't want to get them this thing, but it's called Hitler's Henchmen, written by Helmut Ortner, Nazi executioners and how they escaped justice after World War II. As some of you might know, some of them went on to survive. Rudolf Hess, for one. A few others. Many went to Argentina, but many just simply committed suicide. There's some quotes on the back. It is shameful that such books are still needed today. The fact that they exist is thanks to authors like Helmut Ortner. A book worth reading. It's about suppressed past and contaminated present. It's about memory and responsibility. And the last quote, haunting texts of shocking force and testimony to shameful omissions of the past war judiciary. That's a nice thin one, so I'll probably read that in a day. So, priced $18.99 and from Frontline Books. I might not have mentioned the Lucky Hitler ones. That was a pen and sword book, and that's priced at £25. If you follow the link down below this video to the pen and sword link, if you click on that one, you often find that where it gets you the books at a discount price. So they're often say £5 or £6 cheaper than what I've quoted in the video. So if you do fancy a book, click on that. Make sure you click on that link and go and have a visit, and you'll get your book slightly cheaper. 2 left. This one's Nazi leader and head of the Hitler Youth, Baldur von Schreck, written by Oliver Rathkolb, or Rathkolb. My foreign reading is not up to its proper standards. Now I'm going to like this book because this bloke was the head of the Hitler Youth, And I distinctly remember writing a couple of papers when I was at university on the Hitler Youth, so I'm going to find this interesting. It kind of always amazed me how all the propaganda and all the publicity and that swayed people in Germany, which I could understand because they'd had a hard time during the Weimar period. But I always used to find it surprising that they could so easily influence youth. And of course, Hitler then grew a huge Nazi youth movement, and it kind of always fascinated me. And it always surprised me, being, some of you might know, I was a former scout leader, and working with youngsters aged sort of 8 to 18, it always kind of amazed me how he could have such an effect on young people. So that should be good. Looking forward to that one. And the last one is called March Past. The memoir of a commando leader from Lofoten Lofoten to Dieppe and D-Day, written by Lord Lovat. And it's basically a story of one man who was part of the commandos, which were the World War II equivalent of today's like SAS and Special Forces. So this one should be good and kind of up and at them, sort of guns blazing everywhere sort of type of read. A stream of tracer bullets suddenly leapt out at us, thudding, searing, probing. A mortar thumped as the LCA grated on the shingle. Webb cursed and clutched his shoulder, hit by a mortar fragment. The ramp clattered down and we swept up the beach. Webb still with us. On either side, other LCAs were grounding. Other ramps going down, other commandos were racing ashore. We were in occupied France. Another quote here: certainly a great occasion, but above all a moment of release. The invasion build-up had grown interminably, a mountain tension to some unbearable, or something unbearable, that weighed like a millstone until we stepped out at last onto the boats. The commandos were in fine fettle, and small wonder. Hell's bells, we'd joined up, gone places, and grown tall together. It always amazes me sometimes when you read the quotes from people who were there and who fought. Like the first part of that quote is, certainly a great occasion. And here they are taking part in Operation Overlord, where, you know, you've got everything being thrown at you and it's all complete chaos and there's a very high chance of being killed, and yet it's described as a great occasion. But then that's probably what those people want that serve in the military. Anyway, that's all my books for this book haul. Thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you haven't seen the part 1 book haul video, then feel free to go back and have a look, or click on the link. There might be one that appears up here in the video. But other than that, take care of yourselves. I hope you all stay safe and well. Thank you very much for watching. If you don't mind, give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed some of the books. If you've got a comment, please feel free to send one. I'll read them all and happily reply to pretty much most of them. Other than that, take care of yourselves. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you very soon.